What's going on, you guys? It's your Huggable Hipster here, and welcome to the review. I am excited about this review because it's Resident Evil 5, and there's a lot that I have to say on Resident Evil 5. There's a lot that I have to say on Resident Evil 5. Tongue twister, that was, surprisingly. Just so y'all know, this review was out a week early for Patreon, so if you guys want to be a Patreon, this tier specifically is to see articles early. So if you don't want to see the articles early, it's $15 a month, and you guys can sign up right in the link below. It's right down there. If you just scroll down, it's right down there. Not only will you get to see these articles early, but on Patreon, you get to help me out tremendously, whether it be getting new games for the channel or providing new gear / equipment, whatever it may be. But I just want to say thank you guys so much for being a part of my Patreon community. It really means a lot, and you guys are helping me in more ways than you know. Resident Evil 5. It is the game I never knew I needed in my life. The process of evolution involves growth and a distinction between what was past and what is now present. In the Resident Evil 5 universe, we go from point A to point B. Point A was a vague storyline, but it built with every passing moment. Stars being the test subject to Albert Wesker's twisted design. And then we have point B, which is how the T-virus affected whole populations. Now, Resident Evil 5 takes place in Africa, and we play as none other than our beloved protagonist, Chris Redfield, and his new partner, Sheva Alomar, work together as they find out, or try to find out, who or what caused this viral outbreak to begin in the first place. Now, the storyline of this takes place directly from the fourth game, where in the fourth game, we played as the badass Leon S. Kennedy. Now, instead of dealing with crazed lunatics of the Illuminati, in Resident Evil 5, we deal with the big cheese himself, Wesker. Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I was prepared to hate this game. Not gonna lie, I was really preparing myself to not be overly enthused by this game. I was prepared to be like, meh, it's okay, it's Resident Evil. Since I had like a really strong aversion to the 6th game, I was preparing myself. And for me, like my hipster self, I knew that Resident Evil wasn't a multiplayer. Even though Mikami originally wanted it to be a multiplayer, I just wasn't having it. I knew that it just wasn't a multiplayer. I was that person who only cared for the classics, and honestly, I wish I could slap my old self in the face. This game as a whole, Resident Evil 5, incorporates multiplayer in the best way possible. Also, it was my first collaboration, like my full-on collaboration on the channel that I did with my friend That Boy, which honestly, he has played this game more times than I can even count, so it was really awesome getting to get his expertise and his opinion and his thought process on what he thought of this game as well. So shout out to you, That Boy. Thank you so much, by the way, for joining me on this Resident Evil 5 journey. The game as a multiplayer for Resident Evil 5 just works. It just, I don't know how to explain it, it just works. It continues the storyline in a cohesive manner. It actually explains certain bits that I was actually really confused about in the previous games. It continues the story and actually gives the story more substance. And I didn't think that was possible. It creates this continuous flow of the characters and fills the gaps of who Wesker is, who Spencer is, and a lot of other crucial points that were lacking in the games previous. It still doesn't really answer my question of why there are a lot of tyrants running around, but that's okay. Was there just one tyrant? Was there multiple tyrant? Resident Evil 0, you have many questions to answer, my friend. For those of you who have not played Resident Evil 5, I don't want to give too many spoilers away because I was given spoilers and I didn't care much for the person who gave me the spoilers. We don't talk that much anymore, but that's okay. The one thing I can say without ruining anything, though, is the mechanics are so similar, actually identical to Resident Evil 4. So for the guns, for the ammo, for the explosives, even for the way that you're running and for the way you're killing everything with every action, it is identical to the 4th game. Even the enemies that you are killing, the machine gun guy, that's the only name that I have for him is the machine gun guy. The machine gun guy, the different zombies, the languages that they speak, it's all the exact same from Resident Evil 4. This is nice, but also a cop-out when you really think about it. It's a cop-out because wouldn't you want this title to be a standalone? Each game that is in the Resident Evil series is a standalone from its predecessor, so that when you look at it, you know it's Resident Evil, you know it's continuing a story, but it is vastly different from the other, which I really like. To have it be a standalone from the other is what really sets games apart, and you're not just feeling like you're playing the same thing over and over and over again. It's exactly what Outlast did. Outlast 1 was vastly different from its DLC Whistleblower, and Outlast 2 was tremendously different from the previous Outlast Whistleblower and the first game. I just like to use Outlast as an example, though, because it shows like a clear distinction between each game. They continue the story, but they're separate from each other in their characters and mechanisms and how they approach the game, if that makes sense. Even though it's a consistent storyline, and that's what I like. They're separating all of them. With Resident Evil 5, it's just the exact same as Resident Evil 4 in a lot of what it is. The story may be the same, and the story may be continuing off, like I said, in a very consistent and cohesive manner, but the functionality of it, the way that the guns are, and the villains, there's no different villain besides, I think, maybe one or two. That's it. There's just only that, and then Wesker. With Resident Evil 5, you do feel that shift in content and how the game developers made this to be consistent with the times. Is it a classic Resident Evil game? No, but like the game, it grows with its audience. Matured, and with its audience, it did the same because, you know, I'm not going to stay the same as I am when I'm 5 years old, and neither will this game. One thing that's not in Resident Evil 5, though, that I was kind of sad about was the merchant. The good old days are behind us of buying ammo from an unknown seller who has a really charming accent and an eye infection. Now, I don't want to get too ahead of myself because there are a lot of people that still have not played this game. Even though this game is from 2009, a lot of people are really picking up this title again. We get a glimpse into how just in-depth and really amazing this series is, and I will be doing a more thoroughly reviewed article on this game, so that will include spoilers for any of you who have already played the game and are just like, oh my god, yes, give me all the spoilers, I want them. This is a Resident Evil game I never knew I needed in my life. It's filled with action, it's filled with a genuine continuation of the story, and surprises that will have you sitting at the edge of your seat. Also, one thing I do want to mention, that someone in my Patreon actually commented on Peter. Thank you so much for bringing this up. He stated that it was a really good article, and how does the game play solo? Do you have the other character following you about, or can you switch between them like Resident Evil 0? And this was something I forgot to mention in the article itself. The AI is complete shit. Like, I'm not gonna sugarcoat this at all, you guys. The AI is complete shit. Whenever you are playing just by yourself in the game, the AI does nothing for you except heal you and collect ammo for you. That's it. That's all they do. They don't do anything else. You need to actually have someone, and this is why I think it's so heavily dependent on being a very good multiplayer. This is a multiplayer that is done right. Now, unless you're playing with someone else, be prepared to spend a lot of time. Just a lot of time battling the zombos, a lot of time battling the enemies. The enemies were actually surprisingly difficult. Not gonna lie, we were playing on easy, so I was very surprised at the fact of how difficult a lot of the bosses were. Yeah, unless you're playing with someone that is one of your friends or something like that in the game for Resident Evil 5, the AI really doesn't do much. It doesn't do much at all. That's my only big critique of the game itself, is that the AI sucks. The AI in Resident Evil 0, however, that was very good. You could control them back and forth. I really love the mechanics of that. From back in like the early 2000s, that was a really stable self-multiplayer. I don't even know how to categorize that because there weren't a lot of multiplayers in the early 2000s. There was only like minimal race car multiplayers for the GameCube, all that kind of, there was really no multiplayers back then. But Resident Evil 0, you were your own multiplayer. You controlled both of the characters, which I love that dichotomy. I love the being able to see, okay, this character can go over here. It was kind of like a game of chess throughout a house, throughout a train station, wherever you were in the game. That's what I really loved about Resident Evil 0. But with this one, the AI, it's not it, sis. It's just the AI was not there. Like I said, if you're playing with someone else, and it's great, you know, the game really thrives on being able to have two human beings playing. But that was my review on Resident Evil 5. If you guys like my face and what I do, please be sure to subscribe, hit that bell down below, and check me out on Patreon because I post new content there a lot of the time. I'm going to start posting behind the scenes stuff. That way you guys can see how I get ready for a filming session, what I do to prepare for a new game, all that kind of thing. My Twitter is down there. All my social medias are down there, and be prepared because in October, your girl is rebranding her hair, no more blonde. My roots are starting to come out, and I look really just, I look ratchet right now, I'm not gonna lie. But stay casually nerdy, you guys, and I will talk to you all in the next video. Peace.